This conference will now be recorded.
It did not prompt me for anything. I just had the start button.
Okay, well, we'll find out. We'll find out from Kevin where it actually goes.
Okay.
Because normally, if I've done this before, it just sends me an email when it's done and says, here, pick it up here. And then I just copy it into my Google file. So it's preserved, and then I link to it. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
I see no options for that.
Okay.
The settings doesn't show anything. I don't know, John. So
okay, well, we'll find out. I'll do hand minutes until we get the recording figured out. Okay,
well,
do you guys see my agenda?
Yes, and the recording has started.
Maybe. Fine. Okay. So for IC pass downs, I'll just go back here. Basically, I keep a running total of what happens at the last IC meeting. And so these are so I begin to, these are just upcoming meetings. There's still a that OCP sustainability seminar, which is occurring along with APTS. And so I know it's being announced at the Data Center Facilities Sustainability Project today. And any second now, we should get a notice from OCP staff, a broadcast. There are a couple of other meetings, and then what I keep on a monthly basis is all the contributions which are coming up through the IC. Because once it gets presented at IC, the information is considered public. And so if there's interest in any of this, I can forward it to you. Okay. Back to minutes. So the main issue that I have specifically, and then we'll go to the general ones, which I don't think we're going to make much progress on, is this a change from the old power thermal model to the new subsystem model. And as I outlined last week on the process, is that we go update this usage guide. And the usage guide just tells you what the interaction is going to look like. And then once everyone agrees upon that, because it needs agreement for people who don't understand the profile syntax, then we can just go generate the profiles fairly quickly from there. So if you follow this link, you get to this document. I'm gonna collapse this thing. That's okay. So these are the changes that are made. And I'll start with the, oops, wrong document. Okay, this document. You guys see the document?
yes.
Oh, if I haven't lost you guys. Okay. So this is now the changes were made to power consumption, power limit, power redundancy, which I added, firmware power supplies, and temperature and fan readings. So now all these sections have using the total power sensor resource. And then this is where the old one was, which is using the power resource. So I'll go into each one of these, which now have a selection. So right now it says or. We can change that in the future. Let's see. Can I click through? No, I can't. I got wander down. Oh, here it goes. Okay, so for power state is the same. Oh. Okay, so to get power consumption, I do not get fine control of this thing. Okay, if we get power consumption, it has this, it's weird. Maybe I can do this. Much better. Is attained from the chassis resource. The power consumption can be attained in two ways, via the power resource or the total power sensor resource. So I need to flip this. So this, I started adding it afterwards, but I decided to add it as 0.1. for the new way of doing it, so people don't start reading the old way. So this is basically to get the power consumption is to get the total power resource. So what this does is that this actually names a member of a collection, and this makes it prescriptive that this name doesn't change anymore in order to be interoperable. I want to make sure that was okay. Okay, no objection, so I'm fine. Power limit is using the power limit control resource, which is now naming a control with an instance of control. Power side redundancy is that I can use power subsystem resource and I just get it easily. This is not available. I don't believe with the old power resource that there was no way of actually getting redundancy. I want to make sure that was correct and I wasn't misstating it. There's another section here for getting power redundancy with the old model. I looked and I couldn't find it.
Okay, I thought it was, John, but maybe it wasn't. Right?
And I didn't want to spend too much time on it because I didn't want people using it anyway.
Right.
Because right. So this was actually added because it made getting the power version easier. Because once you get the power redundancy, you can go to each one of these power supplies in each bay and go get it. And so what I found was, and this is the other issue that I had, was that there are two ways to get into power supply. There was one way, which is basically going to do power subsystems, and the other way, which is power equipment, which has a power supply. You get to the same element, and I didn't know if this is something we should deprecate.
Yeah, we already deprecated that in the schema because that was added for that was our initial add for PowerShelf, and then once we unified the model to put to require all the power equipment to have a chassis, we deprecated the power supplies under power equipment in favor of the power supplies under chassis, which is where they're at for every other piece of gear.
Okay, so when I look at the schema file for power supplies, it still has this path in its URI path. So should that be removed?
Okay, well, those should be deprecated. I'll check to see if those are deprecated.
So when it's deprecated, does it still exist? Because that's the only way I found out about power equipment was I looked at power supply schema.
Okay, I'll check, but yes, we can deprecate URIs.
Okay.
I don't know if that's in the, I don't think it's in the output of the document generator yet.
Okay, then I'll just remove this. That's good. That's good. And then temperature is, oh, it doesn't change. Oh yeah, it does change. So there are two ways to getting temperature. One is through the temp sensor, which I now name, and then the old way through thermal. That doesn't change. So one question I had here was, which sensor do we use? Because under sensor, there's ambient, there's intake, and there's exhaust. So in the old model, there was basically a temperature you could go get. In the new model, it's unclear. Wait a minute. Why is this complaining about my file sharing? Are you seeing the file?
Yeah. Yeah, we're seeing fine.
Oh, I've got a big flashing thing which says that. Oh, I got it.
It looks
looks
good here.
No, it got covered up by my wellness pop-up, which says I need to exercise. Yeah, I know. Oh yeah, okay, so we're back in here. So anyway, there's this three temperatures I can select even if I decide I'm going to name an instance of sensor.
Okay, so okay, I'm sorry, your temperature, this is not temperature in the power, this is just temp. So we have that structure for temperature in the new model under thermometrics. That's where that structure for ambient is, so that you don't have to rely on other names or physical context.
Okay, so I should be using temperature metrics or thermometrics.
Thermometrics, yeah.
And that will point me to whatever sensor I need to.
Correct. Yeah, but there will be
good.
under temperature summary Celsius, there are named resources for ambient, exhaust, intake, and internal. So you can pick whichever one of those you need.
Okay, so it's a two-step process here. I go to thermometrics, and then I go fetch the actual temperature, or is in metrics?
So there's excerpts in thermometrics.
Oh, cool. Okay, good. Okay, and then get fan redundancies. So there was no way you can.
There was redundancy. There is a redundancy object in the old power supplies array. And it's the old style redundancy object does exist, two or three objects deep in the old power resource. So it is there if you want to do that.
Do we want to? Because it actually in the 1.0 spec, it wasn't, power redundancy wasn't even.
I certainly would not start that now.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Okay, thanks anyway. So anyway, for fan redundancy, we go into the thermal subsystem. Get your fan redundancy, you go to each individual fan, and you can now, at the bottom, get the actual fan reading. Yeah, so if you have a fan resource, you just go to fan, it gives you your speeds. And then using the old thermal model, you got the system. The only question I have here is this reading, you don't have a unit here? Is that not required? Because you actually don't know what 45 is a percentage.
It's percent.
Oh, yes, you do.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yep.
Oh, okay, all right, this works, that's fine. I should go note that this percent, I should note that why there isn't a reading unit here. Because
reading always it follows the units given in the object name.
Right. Okay.
Always.
Okay, and that's it. So I think in the issues, I think we covered all the issues. That's dealt with. Oh, this is the power equipment in the schema for possibly.
And I did look, John, and yes, that power shelves URI has been deprecated.
So I grabbed this from the latest.
So the way that they get deprecated is that they're added to the URI's deprecated annotation, so that the list of supported are not changed, because we didn't want to have to do downstream tool changes for conformance testing. Because if we took those out of that list, then they wouldn't be, then they would be flagged as non-conforming as opposed to deprecated.
Okay, so they'll exist in that URI property pattern, whatever. But
it's not
figure out it's deprecated.
Yeah, there's another schema annotation next, right, and it's right underneath the URIs. There's the deprecated URIs annotation that will show any of the things in that list that have been deprecated.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to have to learn more about schema than I wanted to. Okay, so we addressed 2. I think we addressed 3. No one had an issue that we're going to go start naming this stuff. And you added the last one. So, okay, we're cool. So with that, if that's agreed, I'm going to let this the document rest for a while, and we can go just update the profile itself. And then we'll review the profile at the next meeting. So, which means the only other change to change the baseline is this issue about changing. If you guys make heads or tails of this issue, then we can resolve it. If not, I'll go look into it.
Okay, I'll have to go look at it, John. Then.
Okay, yeah, if you can, that'd be great. If yeah, which whether we actually had to make this change or whether he just misread it. Okay, and so that's it for baseline. With that, we can go push out a new updated profile. And then the rest are the stuff I'm going to do next, which is all the changes to these server profile that needs changed. Okay, that. So that's digital 25. We dealt with the no pull requests and we've dispositioned all the issues. So with that, I think we are done. Anyone got any other issues or things to bring up? Oh, I got one thing. So Celestica was interested in doing a switch profile since they have a switch and they've satisfied the baseline. So I asked them, do you want to do stuff for initial switch? We can at least go create an initial networking profile which extends the baseline. And so he's interested in doing that. I've sent him the users document and I said, hey, all you gotta do is fill out what management tasks you want to complete. And then we can go write a user's guide for it, get the user's guide approved, and then we can go extend the schema into networking.
John, I had
So
one.
I know you.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I knew you guys were interested in doing profiles, so I wanted to know at least this one's making its way forward.
Yeah. So a question I had for the group, and you know, really is for the community question for a baseline was because you know, looking at the current baseline doesn't have firmware update. And I'm wondering, do we want to, you know, as OCP, do we want to spec out one of the push or the pull method to say, you know, should you do both, or you know, is either an acceptable answer? I don't know, especially as we get out into the componentry or other kind of the non-BMC stuff. I don't know what the preference from the user community would be.
The way I've normally done this is first add it to the server profile.
Yeah.
Because then you can get a discussion within the server group, right? And they'll pick one, right? Or both.
Right.
And
so
then you
yeah, my question was more of gee, when we get outside of the server profile, you know, because I would think that firmware, you know, the ability to do firmware update through the standard means would be something that we would like to put in the baseline eventually, right? So I mean, if you're a managed device, you ought to be able to have your firmware updated through one of the existing tool sets. But is there do we have, you know, is there a preference or a more widely adopted methodology, the push or the pull method. I don't know.
Right. So that's why I do this in a stepwise way, right? And then you send a general notice out to the entire community saying, we're doing this in server. We'd like to do it in baseline. You know, here's a poll. Can we put it in baseline?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if the baseline, right, is going to be push or pull, and should we allow, you know, are we ever going to reach consensus, right? Or have each individual platform like networking already picked its way, and it's not going to change for a while. So in that case, you have firmware update for each of the platforms as extensions, but you can't get it into the baseline unless the baseline supports both.
Right. Okay.
Right, and that's a fine place to be because everyone at least knows how to use Redfish to do firmware update. This group does it pull, this does it push.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you can get it down to one or the other, that's a major improvement over the existing stance, right? So
Two is better than N.
exactly. Yeah. Do we ever get it down to one? I have no idea.
Right, but then someone doing storage can say, oh, well, everyone in storage does push, right?
Right. And that's almost that's my expectation would be if I was going to predict the outcome, it would be that by class of product, it probably goes to, everyone in the storage does it this way, and folks in networking do it this way, and that's kind of they probably tend to gel that. And do they agree with each other? Who knows?
Okay, so the way to start this discussion is someone files an issue.
Yeah. Okay.
Against the profile, right? And you can do it either with server or baseline. But in the discussion, I'll just push out the issue to the various groups and say, hey, we now have an issue we need to resolve, right? Go give us your opinion on whether it should be push or pull or both.
Right. Okay.
But we have some place to start collecting all that, community feedback.
Yep. And the GitHub issues is a fine place to collect that.
Right. Okay. And I think since Mickey's here, is he still here? My question was, when do you expect to have your profile started?
I mean, I'm starting things. I don't know. I haven't gotten it to a reasonable set to send out for internal review yet. But that's going to be my first step. So I would not expect it, for at least a month.
Okay.
Just based on what I know, how long it will take to get an internal cycle done.
Something available by Global Summit?
Oh yeah, by Global Summit. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because we're looking at abstracts for Global Summit.
Oh, okay.
Right? And if he's going to be ready, or if it's been out there a while, he might want to have a review of it.
Oh no, that's an excellent place, John. That would be.
Okay. So with that, we've definitely reached the end of the agenda. So I'll give you back your time, guys.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.
And